Okay, so the first thing we have to do is set up our zeros. And the key part here with these imaginary complex ones is you got to have that plus its conjugate. So the conjugate would be 3 minus 2i. So there's one zero and there's your other zero. So how do you do that? That's x minus the first zero, 3 plus 2i, and x minus the other zero, 3 minus 2i. Now distribute your minus signs, and then you have your factored form, x minus 3 minus 2i times x minus 3 plus 2i. Okay, and that's going to equal your y. So let's distribute and figure out everything we got. X squared minus 3x plus 2xi. Distribute the negative 3, that's minus 3x plus 9 and minus 6i. Distribute the negative 2i, that's minus 2xi, and that would be plus 6i, and 2i, negative 2i plus 2i times 2i is minus 4i squared. All right, so look for things that cancel out. Again, this is y equals. You have an x squared. That's the only one you have. All right, that's gone. A minus 3x and a minus 3x, that makes minus 6x. We have a plus 2xi and a minus 2xi. That cancels those. We have a minus 6i and a plus 6i. Those are canceled. You have a plus 9. And you have a plus 4. The I squared is negative 1, so that makes it plus 4. So your answer should be y equals x squared minus 6x plus 13. And that would be the final answer. Okay, so we have a degree 3, and it's important to understand the leading coefficient's 1, so we don't have to worry about a. So we have 1 and 2 zeros listed. Remember the conjugate. So we have 2, negative 2 minus 5i, and negative 2 plus 5i. All you have to do is change the sign on the I term for the conjugate. Okay, so what do we have? X minus 2, x minus negative 2 minus 5i, and x minus negative 2 plus 5i. So you're going to have to distribute the negatives through. So I have x minus 2, x plus 2 plus 5i, x plus 2 minus 5i. Okay, so we have, there's a way you could do those faster. I'm not going to show them to you at this point. So I'm going to distribute these things. That's x squared plus 2x minus 5xi. Distribute the 2. I get plus 2x plus 4 minus 10i. Distribute the 5i plus 5xi plus 10i minus 25i squared. All right, so that all together, I'm going to rewrite x squared. We have a 2x, and a 2x is 4x. Okay. A minus 5xi and a plus 5xi, those are gone. A negative 10i and a plus 10i, those are gone. So we have a negative 25i squared, which is plus 25. All that times x minus 2. Now the book tells you that's your final, excuse me, that's your final answer. Really, we should go ahead and finish this and come up with the actual equation, but we'll stop there. We'll stop where the book stops. All right, so you're putting all that together to figure these things out. So you were kind of hosed if you went that way first. You kind of put your imaginary numbers together first because you're going to have your i's cancel out. That's what has to happen. All right. Okay, on this one, we have 4 degrees, so x to the 4th, and there's 3 zeros listed, and don't forget the conjugate. So we have x plus 1 times x minus 0, which is x, and then we have x minus a3 plus I, and x minus a3 minus I. All right, so let's do this part first. We have x minus 3 minus I and x minus 3 plus I. Now I'm going to show you something else about this. X minus 3, x minus 3. So let's treat that as one thing. Let's let u equal x minus 3. So we have u minus I and u plus I. Well, that's the difference of squares, which is u squared minus I squared, or u squared plus 1. And what is u again? U is x minus 3. So we have x minus 3 squared plus 1. Well, x minus 3 squared is x squared minus 6x plus 9 plus the 1. So x squared minus 6x plus 10. Now you can go ahead and distribute all of that crap, or you can learn how to do what I just did. And now we have an x and an x plus 1 out in front times all of that, which this is degree 4. Let's take a look here. And there we see what the answer is in the back of the book, same as what we have. We don't have to put anything else together. All right, number 7. Again, we have a degree 4. We have 1, 2 zeros there. We need 4, so don't forget the conjugates of each of these. So let's try this difference of square stuff if it'll work. X minus a4 plus 3i, and an x, of course that's all 1, and then we have an x minus a4 minus 3i, and then we also have the x minus a negative 2 plus I, and an x minus a negative 2 minus I. So you're just changing the value on the I, that's all you're doing. Okay, so now this is what we have here, x minus 4 minus 3i, x minus 4 plus 3i, all right, and then you have an x plus 2 minus I, and an x plus 2 plus I. All right, so here we're going to say let u equal x minus 4, that's those two. So you have a u minus 3i and a u plus 3i, which is the difference of squares. And over here, let's say u equals x plus 2. Okay, so you have a u minus I and a u plus I. So two difference of squares, that's u squared minus 9i squared, which is u squared plus 9. So u is x minus 4. And x minus 4 squared is x squared minus 8x plus 16, plus the 9 is, x squared. This is y equals x squared minus 8x plus 25. And over here, this is u squared minus I squared, or u squared plus 1. And u is x plus 2. So we have x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus the 1, or x squared plus 4x plus 5. And there you can see, we did it right. Now you can go ahead and distribute all day long. It may appear that that's going to be slower, but it's not. But if you're struggling with it, you're going to have to distribute everything. Okay, again, degree 5, and we have 1, 2, 3. Then the conjugate of that and the conjugate of that makes 5. So x minus 0 is x. We have x minus a negative 2, or x plus 2i. So then you have x minus a positive 2i, the conjugate. And then you have this x minus a 1 minus I, and an x minus a 1 plus I. So let's look and see what we have here. That's the difference of squares. That's x squared minus 4i squared, or x squared plus 4. Don't forget the x. So y equals x times that. And then we have the difference of squares over here. So x minus 1 plus I and x minus 1 minus I. So if we let u equal x minus 1, those two right there, we have u plus I and u minus I, which is u squared minus I squared, or u squared plus 1. So that's x minus 1 squared plus 1. X minus 1 squared is x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus the 1. So that's x squared minus 2x plus 2. All right, so that's your answer, which is exactly what they have. Okay, so let's move on from this little section. And now let's do show that the equation has no rational root. I have no idea what that means. Let's just see if we can factor any of this. And maybe that will tell us what we need. Okay? So I see 4 terms and immediately I want to, I want to immediately factor by grouping. Let's just see if that works. Let's take out an x squared out of the first 2 and we get x plus 3. And we have a leading minus sign here, so let's take out a negative 2, and we get, what, 2x plus 3. Is that right? Equals 0. So these two do not match. Okay? So that was worth a try to see if it would work out easily, but of course, that's Algebra 2 and Algebra 1. This is pre-calculus. So what we do is we have factors of 1 and factors of 6. So factors of 1 are plus or minus 1, and factors of 6 are plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 6. So what you do is you put the factors of your constant over your leading term, each leading term. So positive negative 1 over a positive negative 1 is still going to be a positive 1 or a negative 1. Okay? And then we do 2. So that's going to be 2 over 1 or negative 2 over 1. And then you get 3 over 1 or negative 3 over 1. So we'll just say plus or minus 3 and then 6 over 1. All right, so those are possibilities. What you're supposed to do is do f of 1, f of negative 1, f of 2, f of negative 2, f of 3, f of negative 3, f of 6, and f of negative 6. And if any of these are zeros, then it has a rational root. So if we don't get a 0, then that's what it means by no rational root. Okay, so all you have to do is plug it in here. 1x cubed is 1, plus 3 times 1 is 3, minus 4 times 1 is 4, plus 6. That's 4 minus 4 is 0, 0 plus 6 is 6. No 0. Okay, so far so good. Now negative 1 cubed is negative 1, plus the 3, plus the 4, plus 6. So negative 1 plus 3 is going to be 2. 6 and 6 is 12. Now put 2 in. 2 cubed is 8, plus 12 minus 8, plus 6 is 18. Negative 2. Negative 2 cubed is negative 8, plus 12, and it'd be plus 8, plus 6. And that's, again, going to be 18. How about 3? 3 cubed is 27, plus 27, minus 12, plus 6. 27 is 54, minus 12 is 42, that's 48. Okay, negative 3, it'd be negative 27, that would be plus 27. So far so good. And then you get a plus 12 plus 6, which is plus 18. How about positive 6? 6 times 6 is 36, times 6 is 180, and 36 is 216. Plus 6 squared is 36, times 3 is 90, and 18 is 108. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 6. All right, so obviously that's not 0. I'm not going to even mess with it. You're looking for things that are equal to 0. Negative 6, negative 216. That would be plus 108. And again, that would be a plus 24 and plus 6. So 30, that's 138, and negative 216. That's still not 0. All right, so there you just showed that it doesn't work. And unfortunately, that's what you got to do. Moving on. Now we have 5 and 5. So plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 5. That goes with the first term, a. And your constant 5 is plus or minus 5 and plus or minus 1. Okay, so both those. So 1 over 1 is still going to be plus or minus 1. So f of 1, f of negative 1. Then you put 5 over, or excuse me, then you got to put the 1 over the 5 as well. So that's f of 1/5 and f of negative 1/5. Oh, I'm going to quit. Don't quit because it's fraction. Now you put 5 over 1. So you're going to do f of 5 and f of negative 5. And you do 5 over 5, which is 1. So you already have that in the first two steps. So you only have 6 to go through here. All right, so 5 times 1 to the 4th plus 3 times 1 squared minus 5. Does that give you 0? So again, 1s are easy. So that's 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. So we don't want a 0. That's what we're showing here. So what we found here are all possible zeros. How about negative 1? So that's going to be 5. That's going to be 3 minus 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. How about, because you have even exponents, that's going to make all your negatives positive. So the 1/5 and negative 1/5, they're going to be the same answers. And the positive 5 and negative 5 is going to be the same answer. So because of the even exponents. So all you really have to do is 3 of these. So 1/5 to the 4th. Okay, so let's think about this. 5 times 1 over 5 to the 4th. 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125 times 5 is 625. Plus 3 times 25 is 75 minus 5. Obviously, that's not 0. You're going to get the same thing for the negative 1/5. How about positive 5? So 5 times, that's going to be x to the 5th. So x to the 4th times another 5 is going to be x to the 5th. So 5 to the 5th power is, let's see, 625 times 5, 3,125. 5 squared is 25 times 3 is 75. Okay, I think I did that part wrong. 1/5 squared is 1 over 25. So this should be 1 over 25 times 3 is 3 over 25. Okay, so you're adding these together. That's still bigger than 5. So it's not going to be 0. Anyway, so now you have minus 5 here. That's still not 0. You're going to get the same thing with the negative 5. So there you just showed it. And I know this seems a little weird, but we're about trying to figure out a quick way to find zeros. So you're going through these motions. Don't give up. Just one last problem of doing these. Okay, show that the equation has no rational root again. So we have 1 and we have 2. So plus or minus 1 are the factors of the first one, plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2 for 2. So put each one of these over 1. So that's 1, negative 1, and then you have 2 over 1, and negative 2 over 1. So 1s are easy. So 1 to the 5th is positive 1, so this is going to be 1 minus 3 plus 4 plus 1 minus 2. 1 minus 3 is negative 2 plus 4 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. Negative 1, that's going to change your signs on the negative exponents. So that would be a negative 1. And that's a plus 3. That's going to be a plus 4. That's going to be a minus 1. And minus 2. So negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. And that's 3. Now let's plug 2 in. 2 to the 5th is 32. 2 cubed is 8. 2 squared is 4. 2 minus 2. So 32 minus 24 is 8. 8 plus 16 is 24. And negative 2. Negative 2 to the 5th is negative 32. Negative 8 times minus 3 is positive 24. And negative 2 squared is 4. That's still 16. Minus 2, minus 2. Negative 32 plus 24 is negative 8. Plus 16 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. Minus 2 is 4. So again, you just showed that there are no zeros for that. Now let's get into the graphing understanding. Find all the solutions. Okay, whether they're imaginary or not. Okay, so here again, I see 4 terms. So I'm going to right off the bat start this. And it says find all the solutions. So I'm assuming there are some. So if I factor out x squared, I get x minus 1. If I factor out a negative 2, I get what? 5x plus 4. Well, that didn't work because these don't match. All right. So now we have to do what we did in the last problem until we find a solution. We have 3 zeros that we need. If we can find 1, then we can do synthetic division and find the other 2 quickly. Okay, so factors of 1 are plus or minus 1. Factors of 8 are 1, 2, 4, and 8. All right, now put all of these over each of those. So let's start with f of 1. 1 minus 10 minus 8. That's not going to be 0. Negative 1. That's going to be negative 1. That's going to be still minus 1. That will be a plus 10 minus 8. So negative 1 is negative 2, plus 10 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. We got a winner. So what that means is negative 1 is a 0. Plug negative 1 in and show your 0 with synthetic division. We have a 1, we have a negative 1 on the x squared, a negative 10, and a negative 8. Drop it down. Negative 1 is negative 2. 2, that's 8, negative 8, that would be positive 8 and 0. So now what we have here, this was an x cubed, so now this is x squared minus 2x minus 8. Does that factor? Remember, that's a 0, so that's an x plus 1. Here, what do we have? X minus 4, x plus 2. Ta-da! There are all the solutions. Your zeros are negative 1, 4, and negative 2. That's why we do what we're doing. Okay, again, I can see quickly, only because I do this a lot, that factoring by grouping isn't going to work, which is what it's on purpose. So factors of 2 are plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2. Factors of 30 are, let's do it this way, 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. So these are all plus and minuses for each of these. So let's start with, you got to put all of these over each of those. Let's start with f of 1. I always start with the smallest stuff, the easiest stuff first, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work. So we have 2 times 1 is 2, minus 3, minus 17, plus 30. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Okay, that's not going to be 0. How about negative 1? That's going to be a negative 2. That would be a minus 3. That would be a plus 17 and a plus 30. Negative 5 plus 17. Nope, that's not going to be 0. Okay, let's put, I'm not going to put 1 over 2 and do 1/2. I'm going to save that for last. 1/2 may be a 0. But let's do 2 next. 2 over 1. So let's do 2. 2 cubed is 8, times 2 is 16, and 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 17 is 34, plus 30. 16 minus 12 is 4. 4 minus 34 is negative 30, plus 30 is 0. And this is a cube function, so we found 1 0 already, 2. So let's do the synthetic division. 2, negative 3, negative 17, and 30. Because if it's a 3 for an exponent, all we got to get down is to an x squared to do the trinomial factoring. 2, 4, 1, 2, negative 15, negative 30, 0. So we already knew it was going to be 0, but we're just trying to find this part. So what do we have here? X minus 2. And this is x squared plus x minus 15. And that factors into x. Oh, how do we get that? That's not, oh, I'm sorry, 2x squared. So a 2x and an x. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. And if you take away the 5, you get 1. So that's our formula. So our zeros are 2. And look at this one. Add 5 and divide by 2. So 5 halves. We'd have had to go all the way down to here, put those over 1s, each of these over 1, and then start going over the 2 before we would have figured out 5 halves. And then also negative 3. So those are all your zeros. 23. All right, so now we need 4 zeros. Okay, so I'm looking at all this. leading coefficient is 1, so plus or minus 1. And then your C term is 56. 1 and 56. 2 and 28. 3 doesn't work. 4 does. 4 works. 4 and 6. 4 and 14. 6 doesn't work. 7 and 8. We close the gap. That's all of them. So each of these, positives and negatives, over 1. So again, start with a simple one. 1 plus 3 minus 30 minus 6 plus 56. 4, negative 30 is negative 26, and negative 6 is negative 32. That's not going to be 0. How about negative 1? Just change all my signs on the odd exponents. So positive 1 minus 3 minus 30 plus 6 plus 56. 1 minus 3 is negative 2, negative 32. Okay, that's not going to be 0 either. Now let's try 2. 2 to the 4th is 8. 2 cubed is, 2 to the 4th is 16. Something's wrong with me. 16. 2 cubed is 8 times 3 is 24. 2 squared is 4 times 30 is minus 120. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 56. 16 and 24 is 40. 40 minus 120 is negative 80. Minus 12 is negative 92 plus 56 is not 0. All right, negative 2. This still gives us 16. This will be a minus 24. This will be a minus 120. And a negative 2 times 6 is plus 12 plus 56. 16 minus 24 is negative 8. Negative 128. And again, that's not going to be 0. Let's go with 4. F of 4. 4 to the 4th. 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64 times 4 is 240, 256. 4 cubed, again, is 64 times 3 is 180, 192. 4 squared is 16 times 30 is 480. And 4 times 6 is 24 plus 56. So use your calculator, whatever. Just do this as fast as you possibly can. So 256 plus 192 minus 480 minus 241. Oh, I'm sorry, minus 24. Got to read my writing. Plus 56. Hey, we got a 0. All right, so 4 is a 0. All right, the problem is we got to get down to where there's only 2 left. So if 4 is a 0, let's use synthetic division and see what we get here. 1, 3, negative 30, negative 6, and 56. This is x cubed plus 7x squared minus 2x minus 14. Okay, now I see 4 terms, and I notice something. If I take an x squared out, that's x plus 7. If I take a negative 2 out, I get an x plus 7. So this is going to be x squared minus 2 times x plus 7. And we already have that one. That's x minus 4. And that would be your zeros in factored form. All right, so we have a negative 7. Oops. We have the negative 7. We have the positive 4. And if you set this equal to 0, you add 2 and take the square root, you get that one. So there are your 4 zeros. All right. So here we go. Let's do this again. We need at least 1 0. So factors of 2 are plus or minus 1 and 2. And factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So positive and negative each of those. So plug 1 in and see what you get. And that'd be 2 minus 9 plus 9 plus 1 minus 3. And 2 minus 9 is negative 7 plus 9 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3 minus 3 is 0. There you go. They got your first 0 and you only needed 1 to see how close we can get. So 2, negative 9, 9, 1, and negative 3. So that's going to be x cubed minus 7x squared plus 2x plus 3. And that's not, you can't factor that by grouping, so we're going to have to try again. And there's not a lot of zeros here, possibilities, so let's put in, let's just do 1 again. Again, this is just me trying something. Let's see what we get. -5. -5 would be -3, -3. Oh my gosh, and that was serious luck. So obviously we have multiplicity here of x minus 1. There's at least 2 of those. And what do we have down here? X squared minus 5x minus 3. So a 2x and an x and a 1 and a 3. 3 times 2 is 6 minus 1. So it should be a -6 plus 1 gives us a -5. So now you set each of these equal to 0 to get your zeros, right? So this one would be 1 with a multiplicity of 2. This one is a 3. And on this one, you subtract 1 divided by 2, it'd be -1/2. Which, if you put this one over that one, that's where the 1/2 comes from. And I always use my fractions last. So if we had to do it that way, it'd be a long time. So there are your 3 zeros, and the 1 is used twice. All right, we're almost done. We need 5 zeros here. So factors of 6, and what do we have here? Well, wait a second. You don't have a c term, but they all have x's. So let's tack on x squared. And that gives us 6x cubed plus 19x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. All right, so now we just have to deal with this inside. So the x squared there's a 0 multiplicity of 2. All right, so let's put that down here, and a 0 with multiplicity 2. All right, and then if I factor by grouping, that's not going to work. So I need to use factors of 6 and 6. So factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and again with the other side. And these are all plus or minuses. So again, I'm going to start with the easiest one I know. And we're going to do the 6, 19, 1, and 6 again, all right? So that would be 6 plus 19 plus 1 minus 6. That's not 0. How about -1? That'd be -6 plus 19 minus 1 minus 6. All right, and that's not 0 either. Let's try 2. We're going to do all the ones we can first that are easy. So 2 would be 8 times 6 is 48. 2 squared is 4 times 19. Okay, this is going to be pretty large because you have all these positives, and then you're going to subtract 6 at the end. There's no way that's going to be 0. But if you put a -2 in, let's see what we get. That's going to be a -48, and you got a plus 38, and a -2, and a -6. Okay, -48 plus 38 is negative, and then you're subtracting more, so that's not 0. How about 3? Again, positives are going to give us, you have all these positive values, and then you subtract 6 at the end. So we're not going to put positives in here unless we have a fraction. So let's put -3 in. -3 cubed is -27. And then you do -27, excuse me, 27 times 6. So that's going to be a -162. And -3 squared is positive 9. So 9 times 19 is 171. And then you have a -3 and a -6. So -172 plus 171 is 9. 9 minus 3 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. We have a winner. Yay. So we're going to do synthetic division just with this second part here. So 6, 19, 1, and -6. And we already know the 0 is -3. 6, -18, that's 1, that's -3, that's -2, that's 6, and 0. So that's 6x squared plus x minus 2. So we have another 0 here, x plus 3. Okay, and now what do we have here? We have I'm guessing here, 3x and 2x and 2 and 1. So 4 and 3 make 1, 4 minus 3. So again, you have to set each of those equal to 0 and solve each of them. So you're going to get, on this one, negative 2 over 3. So a negative 3 and then a negative 2 over 3. And add 1 and divide by 2 is 1/2. So those would have been crazy to get. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your 5 zeros. All right, last one. Wow. Let's see, can we take, let's see, 2, 4, no, nothing, oops, nothing's coming out of here. So it is, there are 3 zeros, so we just have to find one. Factors of 8 and 27. 1 and 8, 2 and 4, 1 and 27, 3 and 9. That's it. So these are all positives and negatives. So here's how you really do this. Put 1 over each of these. So it's positive, negative, 1 over 1. 1 over 2, positive, negative, 1/2. 1 over 4, 1 over 8, and then you do the 3. You have 3 over 1, so again, all positive and negative, 3 over 1, 3 over 2, we don't have a 3/2 yet, 3 over 4, we don't have 3/4, and 3 over 8, we don't have that. Now we go to 9, 9 over 1, 9 over 2, 9 over 4, 9 over 8, and then 27. 27 over 1, 27 over 2, 27 over 4, and 27 over 8. Usually these all overlap, but none of these did. That's a lot, and you have each positive and each negative. Notice what we have up here, though. This is all plus, and they're all positives. I am not putting a positive number in here because I'm not going to get it adding up to 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is negative 1. All right, so that's going to be a negative 8 plus 18 minus 45 plus 27. Let's hope that that works. Negative 8 plus 18 is 10. 10 minus 45 is negative 35. Plus 27 is not 0. How about, all right, so we got the ones out of the way. I'm going to do the whole numbers. So we'll do negative 3. Negative 3 is negative 27. And negative 27 times 8 is 2 something, what is it? 27 times 8, 216, negative 216. 3 squares is 9 times 18, 90, let's see, 162. And negative 3 times 45 is 135 plus a 27. All right, so let's make sure this is right. Negative 216 and 162, that gives us negative 154. Minus 135 is negative 289 plus 27. That's not 0. All right, so this is, crazy here. I didn't try factor by grouping before I try the next one, which is 9. I'm just going to down here work on this. If I take an x squared out, I get, let's take a 2x squared out. I get 4x plus 9. Okay, and if I take that's not going to work. If I take a 9 out of here, I get 5x plus 3. Yeah, it didn't work. I was just trying. All right, I'm going to put f of 9 in. So 9 cubed is 729 times 8. Again, negative. We're putting negatives in. That'd be negative 5,832. And 9 squared is 81. 81 times 18 is 1,458. And 45 times negative 9 is going to be negative 405 plus 27. All right, so 5,832 negative plus 1,458 is 4,374 negative, minus 405, and you plus 7. Again, that doesn't equal 0. All right, so this is like what if we had something weird like this on the test. I am going to give you the zeros. I'm going to ask you to show me how to do this on an easier problem, but then something like this, I'm going to give you the zeros you need. So let me give you one of the zeros. We need one and only one, and that's the 0. I'm going to give you negative 3/4. None of the whole numbers worked, so we would have gone through all of the whole numbers, okay, and then we would have checked off the 1/2, the 1/4, the 1/8. We'd have gone through all of these until we got to 3/4. And again, we know that we were only doing negatives. All right, so we're going to do negative 3/4 with synthetic division. And we know it works. Okay, so drop down the 8. Negative 3/4 times 8. Again, this is what I see when I see that. Negative 3/4 times 8. I see that, negative 6. Add, and take negative 3/4 times 12. And you should see this, negative 9. Add that, 36. So 36 times 3/4, and I see 27. Negative 27. And that's a 0, which is what we said it was. So what do we have here? 8x squared plus 12x plus 36. All right, I don't like to factor when they're big numbers, and I can factor out a 4 out of this. So I get 2x squared plus 3x plus 9. That makes it a little easier. Don't forget that's a 0. So you have negative 3/4. And this factors, into 2x and x, and 3 and 3, 6. We got to get to 3 somehow here. That doesn't factor because it's all plus. That doesn't factor. So guess what that means? We're going to take this and use the quadratic formula. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Negative 3 plus or minus, let's see here. 4 times 2 is 8 times 9 is 72. 9 minus 72 is negative 63 all over 4. So negative 63, that you're going to have an I there. So this would be negative 3 plus or minus I times the square root of 63. All right, square root of 63. Let's move all this stuff up here. The square root of 63, I'll write it down here, is 9 and 7. That's 3 square root of 7. So what do we really have? We have negative 3 plus or minus 3i square root of 7 all over 4. And we have negative 3/4. So there are our 3 zeros. You have 2 right here because you have a positive and negative. All right, so that was a long problem because it would have taken you forever to figure that out. I would never do that on a test. Okay, so that is the end of that lesson.